Good evening, Assalamu Alaikum, and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host, Ahmad Nawaz. A big lineup that we've got for tonight. We're going to be talking about many things, but first of all, let me just introduce my guest. Absolutely thrilled because it's been a while since we got him out of the house and got him in studios, but finally he's joined us all over again. My co-anchor, he's a football expert and a football youth coach as well. Our sports expert on Sports Extra, Sabeel Hazir. Assalamu Alaikum, Sabeel. Welcome back to Sports Extra.
Walaikum Assalam, Ahmed. I'm very happy to be back, and yeah, it was definitely too long.
Well, great to have you back once again. I think the only piece missing in this triangle puzzle now is K. Asif, but hopefully he'll be back soon as well. But let's just take a look at the lineup that we've got for tonight, and then we'll continue the discussion. And in the lineup tonight, we're going to be discussing the FIFA awards that honored the best performers for the year 2021. You talk about many of these players that earned these awards, be it Cristiano Ronaldo being given a special award, of course. The reason being he got the most goals scored. Then, of course, Denmark and Finland fans getting an award for best fair play. Then you had Alexia Putellas, who was given the Best Women's Player of the Year award by FIFA. And then Robert Lewandowski getting the best award for the Men's Player of the Year, and Thomas Tuchel, FIFA Men's Coach of the Year as well. So many awards to discuss, and then of course Mendy. How can you not include Mendy in there as well? And Emma Hayes as the Best Women's Coach for the year 2021 as well. So all these awards up for grabs, and all these performers who have been honored. Like I said, Robert Lewandowski now on your screens, winning it twice. He's been probably one of the best names for football if you talk about the current few years. When we see football, the amount of goals being scored, age becomes just a number. So the same for Cristiano Ronaldo as well. Continues to defy all boundaries. And then, of course, Edouard Mendy, the way he's been performing. So we'll discuss all about that in tonight's show. Then, of course, we'll move our focus to tennis, the Australian Open. After all the controversy, action is there now to discuss in detail. We'll talk about some of the upsets that have just happened, including the fact that we've had Inglis, who have really surprised. We've seen it before as well, the amount these young tennis players get on the court as well, and the way they produce these major upsets. But first, you got to discuss Leylah Fernandez, and she's been knocked out by Inglis. And now this was a surprise win, of course. Andy Murray is back to winning form. I really frankly thought his tennis might be over, but it's good to see Murray back in action. And Nick Kyrgios, because he's had temper issues as well on and off the courts, but finally getting to address them, and he's won as well. But the latest news that we just checked was that Emma Raducanu has just won, and the big shock, the German Angelique Kerber is out of the Australian Open. She lost as well in straight sets. So we'll be discussing about the Australian Open in detail. And then, of course, in our later segment, we will be discussing a pro boxing championship that is happening in Pakistan, the first ever sanctioned event by the international entity of boxing. Afghanistan is going to take on Pakistan for a title prize fight, which is the Arabian Sea belt, the Arabian Sea Championship that is up for grabs. We gave you a filler and a trailer yesterday as well, but we'll be talking to some more people who are involved. It is World Boxing Championship, WBC, that is coming to Pakistan. Well, that's the lineup that we've got that we're going to be discussing. We'll start our show off with the FIFA awards. Who were the lucky ones? Let's take a look at this report, and then we'll continue the discussion.
Bayern Munich forward Robert Lewandowski equaled Cristiano Ronaldo's FIFA the best record as he won the award for a second time after scoring 69 goals. Manchester United's Cristiano Ronaldo received the special award for being the men's international all-time top scorer. Chelsea and Senegal's Edouard Mendy won the Goalkeeper of the Year award ahead of Donnarumma and Manuel Neuer, while Sevilla forward Eric Lamela won the Puskas Award for his Rabona for Tottenham against Arsenal. Denmark team and medical staff won the Fair Play Award, whilst their fans shared the Fan Award with the Finland supporters following their reaction to Christian Eriksen's cardiac arrest at Euro 2020. Barcelona and Spain midfielder Alexia Putellas won the Best FIFA Women's Player Award for 2022, marking her third individual award in the last 6 months. Chelsea manager Thomas Tuchel beat Italy's Roberto Mancini and Manchester City's Pep Guardiola to win the Manager of the Year award following success in the Champions League in 2021. Chelsea manager Emma Hayes was awarded the Best FIFA Women's Coach award after a year in which she won the domestic treble.
There you have it, all you need to know about the winners of this spectacular night, which was held in Zurich in Switzerland, which was the FIFA Player Awards, and best performers, of course, were nominated and then received these awards as well. So Sabeel, first of all, I think there are many awards that we can discuss in detail, but what has been the highlight for these awards that you believe is important to discuss first?
Well, as was mentioned when we discussed the Ballon d'Or ceremony and Lionel Messi getting another Ballon d'Or, I felt like Lewandowski will win the FIFA Best Award as some sort of consolation, at least for the year he's had. And so that is the big takeaway, that yes, Robert Lewandowski at least has some Best Player award this year. That makes it 2 in a row. So that's the award that I was hoping would not surprise us. So that happened as we expected. Apart from that, Edouard Mendy winning Keeper of the Year, I think that was very interesting and that was the right decision in my opinion, because I don't think he gets enough credit. He wasn't even, I think, in the top 30 for the Ballon d'Or nominees. To see him get that credit as well, very important. It's very nice to see. Now, there are some issues though with the men's Pro 11, because if you look at it, I've got in front of me right here, Donnarumma is the keeper. So you have another keeper as your best keeper, and then you've got Donnarumma as keeper in the Pro 11.
People would ask, then why did Mendy get that award? Because let's be very honest, we've seen it over the season as well, that Edouard Mendy has been absolutely superb.
So I definitely think he is the best keeper, and you and I will not debate about that. We're in agreement. But in terms of the way the voting goes, it's players for the players, decided by the players for the players, right? So players have voted on this. But when you talk about the best awards, the individual awards, it is split up into different groups getting 25% weightage. So that's a national captain, a national coach, journalists and media. So everybody gets different segments. So the voting, there is a bit of an issue. Now, even in the Ballon d'Or ceremonies and with the Ballon d'Or awards, we've had issues with the voting. And people will always find a reason to complain. And the way I put it is this: if we didn't have these awards, people would complain and wonder why we don't have these awards. So yes, they're imperfect, and they do cause issues, like in this 11, we don't have Mendy, we've got Donnarumma, and we don't have Salah, who is obviously one of the players chasing the best award. We've got Haaland in his place and Lionel Messi. So obviously those are all great footballers, but the inconsistencies is what irritates people.
Considering the fact that since Messi has come into PSG, it's not been one of a dream run that he would have enjoyed.
100%. So you can argue the second half of last year for Lionel Messi has been kind of a write-off. It's just been up until the summer when he won the Copa America and stuff like that, which has got him the Ballon d'Or. Has also obviously now seen him be involved in this final 11. I think also people just put Ronaldo and Messi into these final 11s because they are such great players, and I'm never going to complain about that because they are such immense footballers. But then you do see other players start to miss out, and then Haaland being included, I think he's a phenomenal footballer with a massive career in front of him if he keeps this up. But Salah definitely, I don't know how the voting worked. I don't know what players were thinking when they voted. Obviously professional players have voted on this, but it does seem kind of harsh not to have Salah in there, especially when he's chasing the best award.
Yeah, definitely the best award. But because you mentioned Ronaldo in there as well, it's a bit of a special award for him and his trophy cabinet. Imagining the run he's having at United, not so dreamy and not the way he would have wanted to continue his career back in his own home club. But the award does say much more when we talk about how Cristiano Ronaldo has defied age, has defied expectations, has proven every football pundit wrong. And I understand there's a debate between him and Messi, but that is, of course, we cannot compare both of them with their style of play. But you really got to hand it to him and his career over the years. Being the top goal scorer is not something you see every day in football.
Yes, Messi and Ronaldo, the comparisons will go on for time immemorial. Even long after we're gone, people will be debating this. But if we're just talking about Cristiano Ronaldo for a minute, he is the best goal scorer in history, quite clearly. That's why he's been given this award for the accomplishments throughout his career, right? So it's really good to see that recognition, although even if he didn't get it, you can't take the record away from him, but it is nice to see him honoured, especially considering right now at United, it seems like at times he's propping up the team alone. It's nice to get at least recognition for your individual feats when your team isn't doing so well, even if you are putting in good performances most weeks. So it is good to see, and anytime Ronaldo and Messi, I've said this when Messi won the Ballon d'Or, anytime they win any award, no matter what the circumstances, I put my hands up and I go like, you know what, it's Ronaldo and Messi, they deserve all the awards they get.
You know, I saw one of these statements as well from him before these awards, where he was mentioning about youngsters at United and elsewhere as well. He said when we were at that age, we wanted to learn more, and even up till this day, we are trying to gain as much of a knowledge as we can from everywhere. But if these youngsters don't want to learn, they can just have it and just play themselves.
So definitely, if you're a youngster at United, you're not listening to Cristiano Ronaldo when he speaks, it's you who's going to be at a loss, not him. He's won everything in his career. Only you will benefit from that. When somebody of that level is giving you knowledge and is giving you advice, you're the one who stems to improve from that. And like that just shows his mindset. Maybe it's the mindset of a generation, but particularly him, that is always looking to improve even at this age. And so it's really nice to see. And also, if we're going to mention, top players, it was really nice to see Alexia Putellas win,
Absolutely.
as well as a Ballon d'Or, win the best award. And again, if you talk about controversy, she wasn't in the best 11 for women. But again, it's with the way the voting.
So you don't have a gender divide there. It's equal on the gender parity.
Both sides are getting, are not getting it great. But really a big, massive congratulations to her to wrap up what has been a phenomenal year. She was so crucial to Barcelona's treble run, and it is just wonderful to see. And I'm really happy on a personal note to see Mcdonagh be involved in the final Pro 11, because she is like my favorite women's footballer. So anytime she's included in the team, I'm happy.
It's a happy day for you. But a good night for Chelsea as well. They got most of the awards, and especially Thomas Tuchel getting the best men's coach award as well.
So yeah, Emma Hayes winning the domestic treble, and just all that she's done in her career. When she wins an award, she's a top manager, and she definitely deserved that. The men's awards, because obviously you didn't have as many people winning trebles of any kind, we didn't know exactly who'd win. So even Thomas Tuchel, he said afterwards that, I got a letter and I was so surprised, but it's a massive honor. And he deserves it, winning the Champions League, becoming champions of Europe. And he hasn't had the time to construct a team the same way Guardiola and Klopp have done in the Premier League. So to see him go and become European champion, I think he is deserving. And Chelsea, with Edouard Mendy, I think that Kante and Jorginho as well, in their in the Pro 11, although Rudiger and Thiago Silva should have probably also been there. But great night for Chelsea, and then their fans will take massive pride. And speaking of fans, the Danish and Finnish fans being honoured in the way they were, that was really nice to see. In Denmark and the medical staff getting that award as well, the Fair Play Award. These are the things that are really heartwarming and show you there's more to football than just what happens on the pitch.
That's very true. There's more to football, and obviously when you talk about more to football, the game is much bigger than the amount of goals being scored, the amount of rivalry. It's about fair play as well, and that's where we saw fans from Denmark and Finland grabbing that award.
Yeah, when they won that award, obviously we saw the way they all came together, singing his name, and just love and support pouring out when it was a terrible incident. We're lucky and thankful for the medical staff who were able to get to him in time and give him the medical treatment he needed, so that not only is he still with us today, but there's also a chance his career continues at the highest level. So, we have them to thank, and the fans as well, for the way they responded in that moment. It's so hard, but they did absolutely the right thing in very difficult circumstances.
Very difficult circumstances indeed. But obviously these awards say much about these players when we talk about it. Of course, we always say that personal milestones are not important for these individuals as well, but for generations who watch them as role models, and for the clubs they're involved with, and for their national sides as well, because it is definitely an omen of confidence and also an optimistic thing to look for the future as well. On that note, let's take a look at our segment recap. And in the segment recap, we of course discussed about the FIFA awards when we talk about these, and a ceremony that happened in Zurich in Switzerland. These were for the year 2021. Many awards that were up for grabs, including the best men's player that of course went to Robert Lewandowski. Cristiano Ronaldo was given a special award himself as well. Then we talked about Alexis getting the women's player award as well. For the best men's coach, you had Thomas Tuchel, Edouard Mendy with the keeper. Many other awards that are up for grabs as well. On that note, now we'll take our focus to tennis, the Australian Open. We've got to discuss about that. Thank God we're away from the controversy, but it will still haunt this particular tournament and tennis and sports for generations to come, because it had really ended not the way that we wanted it to settle down. But that being said, a lot of action took place. We've got a report on that. Let's take a look.
Britain's Andy Murray marked his return to the Australian Open with a tense 5-set win over Georgian 21st seed Nicholas Basilashvili. Murray cruised to the first set in 23 minutes, but any hopes of a routine win disappeared as Basilashvili recovered. Momentum swung both ways before the wildcard won. Murray, a 5-time beaten finalist in Melbourne, will play Japanese qualifier Taro Daniel in the second round on Thursday. On the other hand, Nick Kyrgios easily defeated British qualifier Liam Brody in straight sets on his beloved John Cain Arena, quelling any concerns over his fitness. Kyrgios withdrew from last week's Sydney Tennis Classic after confirming he had returned a positive COVID-19 test. Meanwhile, Maddison Inglis is celebrating the biggest win of her career after overcoming US Open finalist Leylah Fernandez in the opening round of Australian Open 2022. It was the first main draw Grand Slam win of Inglis' career and her first victory over a top 50 player.
There you have it. All you need to know about the Australian Open in detail. Now, where should we start from? I think let's just take it from Leylah Fernandez and Inglis. Well, Sabeel, let's be very honest. Two of the top names in tennis right now that were being discussed after last year's US Open were Leylah Fernandez and Emma Raducanu. Now, Emma, of course, got off to a winning start today, but Fernandez losing to Inglis was surely an upset.
As was mentioned in that brilliant report, I think her first win against an opponent in the top 50. So she's come in as a wild card, and it's nice. She is obviously in front of that crowd to get a win. It's massive for her, but it's not something any of us expected. That's no disrespect to her, but it is just the kind of faith we have in Fernandez. And obviously, we don't know as much about Inglis. We don't know how she plays as much as we do Fernandez. And she's not as good a player overall. So to see her win that, it's very impressive, and I think she deserves all the credit in the world. But if we analyze the game and see where things went wrong, a lot of unforced errors. I said this about Naomi Osaka as well when she was playing her warm-up tournament, that she was making a lot of unforced errors. And the same goes here. I have the numbers in front of me, 30 unforced errors in this game alone for Fernandez. So there were issues there, getting broken a lot. These kind of things which, obviously she's young, and whenever it's a young player, I don't want to be too harsh because I feel like they have their whole career to fix this. But that is something that needs to be addressed. When you go to a major tournament in the first round and you are making so many errors against opposition you should be relatively comfortable against, that is something the youngster needs to look at. But well done to Inglis, and tremendous victory. And Raducanu, like, 17 minutes to win the first set and then winning. Obviously she lost the second, but very exciting start.
Dream run indeed.
100%. Like the US Open was just the beginning of a career. What a way to start becoming a,
top sensation in tennis.
Yeah, exactly. But the way she played in this match as well, and I think it's very interesting to note that she won the first set in 17 minutes. Spectacular, 6-0, demolition. But then she lost the second set, right? At such a young age to show the character, to bounce back and then win the third set again, right? That's very important because since the US Open, we've seen her kind of faltering as young players often do. But to see that kind of character and how she's developed, it's lovely to see. And I'm really happy with her win, and well deserved. And if she can have another Grand Slam run, that was again.
I mean, let me put it this way. The Brits winning the US Open was special, of course. But the hammering they got in the Ashes, if a Brit wins the Australian Open, maybe some consolation for the Brits there. But, we talk about Fernandez. She lost the first set 6-4, a bit of a fight. Second set, absolutely away. I think the percentage of first serve points was really there for Inglis. But then, of course, moving on, I am really shocked that Angelique Kerber is out of the tournament.
She's ranked, I think, 16th in the world right now. Very, very, how do I say, a steady player. Somebody you don't expect to fail at different. Yes, you don't expect them to win every tournament or maybe go to the final or semi-final, but you expect them to be there and giving tough competition. To lose so early on, it genuinely shocked me. I can't even put it into words that she's out of the tournament already. Like, as much as I expected Barty to bulldoze her way through to the second round, I expected Kerber to be alongside with her, even though there is that difference in class in my opinion. Especially in the early rounds, you don't really see this from Kerber, so it is very surprising to see her get knocked out. But I'm gonna give you my prediction. I think Kenin, who won the Australian Open 2 years ago, she's playing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Very excited to see her play. I still think in this tournament there is something for her, especially considering the inconsistencies.
I'd be putting my money on Ash Barty because I think home soil, an Aussie, she's not going to let it that easy. But I agree. I think if anybody's going to give her competition, it's going to be Sophia Kenin. Yeah.
So Barty is the favourite, and for good reason. I'm a big fan of Barty's, but I think the inconsistencies she's shown as well, and Kenin winning this tournament a couple of years ago in different circumstances, I just have an outside feeling that she's going to take this or at least go far in the tournament. Barty is still obviously the favourite, and I hope this isn't like the commentator's curse and I haven't jinxed Kenin's run right before it starts.
We've been doing that in the past. I don't know if it works this time. But, coming on to the men's side, I think I've been shocked with upsets if people are losing. But this particular gentleman, I'm shocked that he's won, and it's Nick Kyrgios, because the amount of temper issues he's been having on and off courts was something that you've not seen, completely bizarre. You don't expect him to get that composure into his game, but maybe we do hope that this is redemption for him.
Well, we've hoped that many times throughout his career, and I don't know if we'll get it, but very impressive win because in front of that home crowd, I think that's what he needed, to come back in front of his home crowd. Obviously, he's had issues as well recovering over the last year. So to come back in front of his home crowd and win in amazing fashion, that tweener shot he hit between the legs and the way he won that point, total showman, and that's obviously his downfall as well, the fact that he has these temper issues and is a showman. But when it works, it is beautiful to see. And now what's interesting is he faces the now favorite in Djokovic's absence, Medvedev, the world number 2. He faces him in the next round, if I'm not mistaken. So that matchup is very crucial, because if he can somehow pull off an upset there in front of the home crowd with that kind of momentum, this might be the first time we see him reach a Grand Slam final. Because remember, I don't think he's even been a finalist in a Grand Slam yet, let alone win one. So this could be his time if for just one tournament he can get his act together.
Because Alexander Zverev and the guy that you're talking about have been two big names for tennis that have been dominating, and they're now ranked as the next gen tennis players, with obviously now Djokovic not also part of the tournament.
Yeah, so obviously you take out the best Australian Open player of all time, and there's a massive gap. And you've mentioned people there who can come in and fill that vacuum. But again, that vacuum also means there's an outside chance, if Kyrgios can get his act together, that this is his tournament. It's in front of the home crowd. He seems like he's got momentum. He won in straight sets right now, which means he's a bit more rested than the people who took their games a bit further in the next few rounds to come. So if he can keep this kind of game going, like you said, that key word, composure, keep himself composed, this could be his tournament. Let's hope he at least gets to the semis or the finals, especially for the home crowd. With all that Australia's endured over the last year or so, you really want to see a home boy and a home girl win, especially the home crowd will want to see that.
Definitely, that is there. But talking of another Brit, Andy Murray back to winning numbers. I thought his days of tennis were done.
Same here. I did not think Andy Murray would come out, and I still don't think he'll mount a very impressive run this time around. But it's always good to see him come back and win. Obviously, him being Scottish, I have my biases, and like I do with McDonough and Robertson and Tierney in the Premier League, I have massive biases towards Murray. Even though he's not my favourite tennis player, when he does win, I can't help but feel that, look, it's nice to see a Scotsman do well. And I really, if you're a fan of tennis and you've seen the way he overcame obstacles and the players he overcame to win the 4 Grand Slams he did, it's always nice to see, and he's such a likable guy to see Andy Murray do well in tournaments.
You never know, he might even have a chance, with considering the big names not part of the tournament anymore.
Again, we talk about power vacuum. Yes, there is a chance for outside people who aren't favourites, underdogs to go and win, but I think Kyrgios is my black horse to win it rather than Andy Murray. So that is my black horse, is Kyrgios.
But could this be that the number 1 player in the world has seen the last of the koalas and the roos?
Well, if he gets that 3-year ban, then he doesn't play there for 3 years, and that might be it for him there. But look, if you're talking about him as a tennis player, in my opinion, he already is the greatest men's player of all time. The records he's broken. If he wins one more Grand Slam, possibly at the French Open, because I think they will allow him to play in that, he cemented his legacy forever. And he's already the best Australian Open player of all time, so he doesn't necessarily need another one. But it's a real shame, and his choices and the way the Australian government handled it, and everybody involved, who's suffering now? The fans, because all of us would have loved to see Djokovic at this tournament. No matter how controversial he is, as a tennis player, you can't deny Djokovic.
Yeah, but we talk about some of these players that still, continue to go on, no matter the upsets that they've had, no matter with the injuries. One of them, and especially because we've seen him in side tournaments as well, is Rafael Nadal. And I want to talk about him because this is one generation of tennis players that just refuses to quit.
Yeah, so Nadal and Federer are 2 players who I've been seeing since I was a little kid, and obviously Djokovic got thrown in that fray. But the one thing about Nadal is, unlike Federer, he's had more injuries throughout his career. Federer now, as he's older, we're facing a lot more time off. But initially, when it was Nadal getting injured and coming back and winning tournaments, he is a fighter. He has been a fighter his whole career. He's had issues his whole career with injuries, and it has never stopped him. And now he is tied with Djokovic and Federer with 20 apiece. So credit to him, and he's such an explosive player, and he plays with such passion. You can see it. It's so visible and palpable on the court, and he brings that excitement. So very good shout of you to bring Nadal into this as well.
I know, because I talk about this because the next big thing in tennis right now is not probably the Australian Open, not any other tournament. It's about who will get to that landmark of 21 Grand Slams.
Yeah, so we are seeing who's chasing that. Federer, let's be realistic, is out of that. I don't think he has another Grand Slam in him, even though Federer is my favorite player, I will have to admit.
Thank you.
That is not happening. I love Djokovic, Nadal, and all these other players, but he is my favorite. But Nadal probably has some chance, but the favorite out of the 3, clearly, if he doesn't get kicked out of every other major Grand Slam, is Djokovic. But if that happens, well, it helps Nadal's chances.
Well, definitely, it does help him. But Sabeel, thank you so much for joining us on our segments, and great to have you back as well.
Thank you.
Right, let's take a look at our segment recap that we had for tennis. And in tennis, we of course discussed the Australian Open. We discussed the fact that there have been some upsets, including Inglis beating Leylah Fernandez. Mcdonagh is off to a winning start as well. Talk about the men's circle. Nick Kyrgios is off to a winning start. Andy Murray has won his match as well. And elsewhere in the women's side, Angelique Kerber is out of the tournament, which is a big shock as well. But still some names are in the tournament and have qualified for the next round as well. That wraps up our two segments. We'll go towards a short break, but when we come back, we've got something very special. Stay tuned. Good evening. We're back with Sports Extra and time now to discuss something very special. When you talk about boxing, you talk about action, and what a great day to be discussing boxing, because it is, of course, the birthday of the great legend, fly like a butterfly, float like a butterfly, sing like a bee, and we're talking about Muhammad Ali, of course. We'll get to that in a bit as well. But when we talk about boxing, we talk about some of the big names that are going to be coming to Pakistan. We talk about a lot of talent that is in there for Pakistan, but we want to clear perspectives as well. That's what I was discussing just a while ago before we were about to go on air with my guest as well. So we'll clear a lot of perspectives. We'll talk a lot about boxing, and we'll, I think, stick to the fights themselves as well and what's going to be happening in that ring. Because it's, of course, very important to discuss not just the Arabian Sea title and the first ever sanctioned event of the WBC in Pakistan, but a lot of other stuff that is going to be happening when we talk about boxing in Pakistan as well. And to discuss that further, I'm very honored to be joined by some very respected people in studios as well. Like we said, we'll keep on trying to get as many people as we can, clear perspectives, and talk about a lot of these things. And first of all, very lucky to be joined by the president of the Pakistan Boxing League in London, Sayyid Amir Shah. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, sir?
Walaikum salam.
Great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking out time. And we also have been joined by a former three-weight Irish champion, a man who knows what it is like to be in that ring, to fight it out and to earn the title of being called a champion. He is none other than Peter Mcdonagh. Peter, hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports Extra.
Good evening, and good evening to Pakistan. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you as well on the show. Now, like Mr. Shah, we talked about this, right? Before we went on air as well, that we need to clear a lot of perspectives at the same time as well. When we talk about the first sanctioned event of WBC in Pakistan, first of all, on a personal note, I really want to know about the efforts of the Pakistan Boxing League in London and all the efforts that were involved in trying to get this into Pakistan.
Well, you know, we've been trying to do this now since around about 2010. We come up with the idea, and it's been a long journey. So we have, you know, we've got a lot of professional boxers in the UK that want to come to Pakistan, but we also know that we have a lot of good boxers in Pakistan that want to turn professional. So we've tried to create a professional body in Pakistan to turn people from amateur to professional and bring in the titles like the WBC, like we're going to have on the 22nd, and you know, and produce some champions basically in Pakistan. So we have the Arabian Sea belt, as you know, it's 16 countries. The fight's going to take place between Pakistan and Afghanistan. So this is going to be history. It will be our first championship fight, and inshallah, this is going to be the beginning of a very long journey moving forward.
Inshallah, that is the hope, and definitely that is the effort to get Pakistan into that professional realm when we talk about that as well.
Right.
But Peter, like Mr. Shaw mentioned, that turning them from amateur to professional is the key here, because we've got raw talent that we talk about here in Pakistan, but definitely when you talk about the pro level, it's a huge difference.
Firstly, I want to clear up about Boxing League. I mean, that's what it's called, a Boxing League at the moment. I've been brought over as an advisor. I've been lucky enough, you know, I've known Emir for years, and obviously, you know, Nawaz Shah having me over here as the president as well. We've been working tirelessly about all this sort of stuff. Firstly, in every other country around the world, boxing amateur and boxing professional is two different things. When you box amateur, it's a sport. When you box professionally, it becomes a business. And coming out here to Pakistan and seeing the talent we've got here. And let's not forget, the amateur pedigree in Pakistan is good. It's not bad pedigree. But the problem is, we've got no change from amateur to professional. There's no such thing as semi-professional in boxing. So people talk about semi-professional in the middle. There's no in the middle. You're either amateur or professional.
Well,
But when you turn professional, there is no governing body within Pakistan for professional boxing. And, you know, we are making history Saturday night. You know, this WBC fight is a professional boxing fight. It's not a professional league, because you have one fight and that's it. You're not in no league. There's no strategy like cricket or football. This is professional boxing. This is the hit and hurt game, you know, as well as, you know, it's very, very good for people, you know, mentally. You know, it helps a lot with mental strength and all that sort of stuff. So for me, just driving down the roads, when I landed off the plane, I got in the car, I was driving down the road and I said, this reminds me of our homeland, Ireland, the families, the way they are together in this country. There's 280 million people in this country. How are we not producing world champions in this country? And this is what we're here to do.
Definitely. I think you really sum it up, because it's time that we man up now and we recognize this, that it's a fight in the ring. It's like you mentioned, it's not a league. It's not just a normal sport. It's not a game of a strategy. It's the individual who's fighting in that ring. It's his opponent, and it's the rounds in between that are there for him to ace that level as well. And Mr. Shah, I think that's got to be the main thing, that this is more than just a bout or a championship that is up for offer. It's about clearing these perspectives and, you know, eliminating that misconception that people have. Because I know people will talk about the systems, people will talk about the infrastructure in Pakistan, will talk about the raw talent and how blessed they are to have that raw talent. But first of all, you've got to understand the thing that Peter just said, that you're either an amateur or you're a pro. There's nothing in between.
There's nothing in between. And, you know, there is... you know, we hear these conversations going around. We're trying to educate people. Look, there's no in-betweens. You're either amateur, and if you're good enough, you become a professional. And if you're good enough, you become a champion one day. Right now, we've got many people who've got their eyes on Pakistan. Some of the giants in professional boxing. Tyson Fury, Ricky Hatton, you know, Billy Joe Saunders. You know, I got a message from Joe Kawasaki, Mayweather. You know, we've got messages from all over the world. Billy Schwer, you know, we've got all these messages on FaceTime, which we'll be showing at some point. These are the giants, absolute giants in boxing. And they're all concentrating and looking at what we're doing in Pakistan. After this championship fight, we've got something very special we're going to be starting. But we'll talk about, you know, that later in the year. And we're going to do some great things here. What we are looking for champions. And there are plenty of champions in Pakistan. We're going to find them, we're going to train them, and we're going to make them champions. And we're going to take these champions around the world to bring boxing, you know, to Pakistan, and also bring championship belts back here.
Well, I think all of these names definitely very big in boxing, but you've got to understand that Pakistan has got a special place for some of these names as well. So Peter, especially if we're saying that Tyson Fury, for the character that he is talking about Pakistan, it's really a fanboy moment for me, at least. So many other Pakistanis who've been following Tyson and all of his fights, or even his off-the-ring activities, like I said, his character comes up as well. This is big, definitely.
He's not talking about Pakistan. He's talking about coming to Pakistan. He has turned round on a FaceTime video yesterday to wish every one of us luck. And he says, I'm definitely going to come to Pakistan, because he's got fans at it. And what you've got to realise is, you know, Emir just missed out. We ain't just got boxers that have been calling us. We have got cricketers. We've got the likes of the famous bowler, Darren Gough. Listen, it is time, you know, not to change the cricket bats for gloves, but let the kids have the opportunity. And what we've got to realise here is, they get to a certain level and there's nothing else for these kids to move on. I'm saying kids, but you know, I'm a bit older now. But what you've got to realise here is, if you see Pakistani fighters winning world titles from rags to riches. I was a poor kid when I was younger. I'm still poor now, but you know, but boxing gave me the opportunity. And you know, it's the next thing on from the amateurs. We want to produce Olympic gold medalists, not just professional world champions, Olympic gold medalists. But that will strive them to win the Olympic gold medal and get a big contract.
So it's not just you. You turn yourself around, the life of your family around, the life of your community around, and then, of course, at large, you change the lives of many people involved with you.
It just gives everybody an opportunity, you know, and they think it's not out of reach. It's out of reach at the moment because boxing's not big in Pakistan. But believe me, within the next 6 to 12 months, I believe we can get there. I mean, as you can see, I'm representing MTK here on a T-shirt. You know, that's who I was with. They give me a massive, massive opportunity.
Yeah, break.
They're big all over now. And I was their first champion, and I'm so proud to become their first champion. I had a career that was up and down, and then they got me to a stage where I never lost again. I never lost again in the ring. But not only does it help you in the ring mentally, it helps you physically and mentally when things get tough outside the ring. And believe me, there's plenty of people here with tough times. But believe me, tough times ahead, they are going to have a lot of positive times ahead if we can produce and bring world champions to Pakistan.
Inshallah, that is the hope. Mr. Shaw, finally, first of all, I think Pakistan would like to sincerely thank you for efforts back in London as well. I think the entire nation, the community, wants to give you a big shout out, a salute for all of your efforts, for doing this for Pakistan, even living abroad. That's why we say that you guys are our biggest asset that we've got overseas as well. So do you have a final message that you want to give out to people?
Yeah, I would ask the Pakistani public to get behind the boxers, support them, follow them, and cheer them on. They're going to bring belts back to Pakistan. Be proud of them and stand with them, follow them, and support them. That's what I ask. And I'd just like to mention 2 other people that have given us a big support. Lennox Lewis, undisputed, still. And also Muhammad Ali's grandson, he sent us a message which we'll be showing at some point, wishing us all luck in Pakistan. We have a lot of support from around the world. And we just want the Pakistani public to get behind us and their fighters and be proud of them.
Before we end, can I just add 2 more things?
Absolutely.
Important things.
Yeah.
I want to add on Thursday at 7 p.m. there's a press conference. All press invited to the, what hotel is it?
Best Western.
Yeah.
Best Western Hotel. And on Friday at the shopping centre at 6 o'clock we have got the weigh-in. You can come and meet and greet the fighters and get some pictures. As well as...
Are we getting some aggression in the weigh-ins as well?
We're going to get
Yeah,
it.
we want to
There's
see
a little bit of that.
Listen, the fighters are dying now, killing themselves, making weight.
Yeah.
They are ready to go. They ain't punched for the last week, so they can't be ready to hit each other. But before we finish, the man you started with, Muhammad Ali, the greatest man that's ever lived, in my opinion. Not only was it his birthday, his grandfather is Irish.
Yeah, that just gives you another thing to be there about. But Peter, your story's been inspiring, and I think you've inspired so many people. And the way you put it absolutely wants me to take up gloves as well. So I think you're inspiring a lot of people, generations in Pakistan, and we really want to thank you as well for being with us and for all the people that you're going to be inspired. But gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And for all of you, Peter's just highlighted the events to be at. You better be there. You better be supporting all of these boxers because as Peter just said, and Mr. Shaw said as well, they're going to be changing things around now. Perspectives have been cleared on Sports Extra tonight. This is a fight when you talk about this in a ring. There's no strategy, no teams, nothing. It's going to be those individuals who are going to be fighting. So you better be there, better be behind your boxes.
I would just like to say one last thing. Pete, have you got a prediction for a round for Muzaffar? Because I think this guy's going to take it fairly quick.
Oh, really?
What
do you think, Pete?
I'm going to go with a cracking knockout in round 4. But let me tell you something. Respect to both fighters. You know, this is the hardest game in the world. So get behind not just a Pakistani fighter, but the other fighter too, because these people are great and they got great fighting arts. And I'll tell you what, before I leave, I would like to say Pakistan has welcomed me with open arms. They've not only got a great culture, but they're lovely people. And I might even buy a house here one day.
Oh, you never know. For Peter's going to be, it's going to be Ireland and Pakistan for Peter, I'm sure. But all of you guys, you really got to be there. And even on fight night as well. We want to see you there supporting our lads as well. But gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. And a very special thank you for joining us as well. That's all we've got time for. Very quickly, on that note, from me and the entire team, it's going to be goodbye for now.